Studies have found that people who embrace this life stage, embrace this change, end up finding a renewed sense of direction, purpose, values, goals, and a reason for living. In this video, I will be encouraging you to take another perspective on what you may be calling your midlife crisis. Could it be that this stage of confusion and doubt really is an opportunity for you to take stock, step back, reflect, and perhaps chart a new course for yourself? Could it be that your deepest heart's desire is really magnetizing itself and calling you to step towards a new life? So stick around as I share ways that you can navigate this life stage with courage and conviction. And if you stick around to the end, I'll also have a free resource to support you in this transition. If you're new to the channel, hi, my name is Andy Jala. I am a midlifing health coach who also runs retreats in Jamaica. Before we get into this topic, I want to give you a bit of my own backstory where I had to also stop, examine what was really going on in my life and what was in my heart for my vision of the next stage of my life. At the time, I didn't see it as a midlife crisis. All I knew is that I didn't feel like myself. So what is it? What is this midlife crisis? Is it really a cliche where we go out and we do odd things and buy sports cars and splash the cash? This is how I like to see it. A little bit like a mid-game huddle. We're at the midpoint in the game where we need to reevaluate and reassess where we are. We have to look at our tactics and our strategies thus far and work out if they've been working or if we need to change something. And here's where it gets really interesting, because certain events and life stages can trigger this crisis. And when we understand those stages and what might be going on, then we're able to have greater clarity about the next steps. So here are some common triggers. See if any of these resonate with you. Significant birthdays. Turning 40, 50 or beyond can spark feelings of, wow, where did the time go? It's like our own personal alarm clock reminding us that life is passing by. Career changes. Ever felt stagnant or in a position or even lost a position you thought was secure? A career change can shake our sense of identity and make us question what we truly want from our work life. Empty nest syndrome. When the children leave home, some parents find themselves wondering, what now? This change leaves a lot of extra space to fill, and not just physical space, but emotional space too. Loss of loved ones. Losing someone close can remind us of our own mortality, and we start to ask the deeper questions about legacy and what really matters. Health challenges. Health issues, whether our own or a loved one's, are often a wake-up call that prompts us to re-evaluate how we spend our time and energy. These triggers aren't really bad per se. They're just a part of life. And whilst they may have some kind of shock element to them, they really are an opportunity for us to just stop, step back, and take a look at things from another perspective. But let's get real. It's not just the questions that might be challenging us during this phase of our life, but it's the fact that the questions cause so much confusion and fear and doubt. If you are feeling that confusion, that doubt, that fear, it's time to take a focus shift. So let's get real. The real challenge isn't just the questions that are popping up all over the place, questioning everything. But the fact that those questions are causing so much confusion, so much doubt, you're going round and round in circles, questioning questions, and it's all a mess. I've been there. And that brings me to the clarity roadmap. The 4 things you're going to have to consider in order to find your way to where it is that you need to get to. That's what I needed to do in 2018, and that's the path that brought me to where I am today. So here's what I call the clarity path. It's 4 simple steps to gain more clarity in any situation. So number 1, what's needed is self-reflection. You're going to need some time out. You're going to need some time out to give yourself the space away from the noise, away from the confusion, to really go inwards. It's time to speak to your heart. Take a deep dive into what really matters to you now. This isn't about the goals you had 10 or 20 years ago. This is about today. So I would suggest grabbing a journal, going for a walk, and start asking yourself questions like, what am I passionate about? And what do I want more or less of in my life? Number 2, embracing change. Change! Oh my gosh! Don't ask me to consider change. I don't want to change. I am so comfortable where I am. But the truth is that you're not. You're not comfortable. And that's because change happens in nature, and we are a part of nature. Thereby, we have to be able to change. We have to get comfortable with change. I mean, we have a 12-month calendar that most people follow in a similar fashion. There are holidays, there are work days, there are days for religious observances. We follow a rhythm of a calendar. And so change is a very, very natural part of our life. The seasons change. The day changes from night to day. Change happens all the time. Our body is constantly in a flow of change. All the processes that are taking part in our body are moving and changing, moving and changing. And even when it's resting, that is a change. That is the opposite of action. It is a change. We need to get comfortable with change. So embrace change as growth. It is uncomfortable, but it's also the way we need to grow. Shift your mind to see this time not as an ending, but as a new beginning. Every ending opens doors to something new, something possibly even better. And even in my own life, although I observed others observing me and seeing what they thought of was turmoil and chaos, I knew that I was doing the right thing for me. I was taking the time to figure it out. This was my time to huddle with myself and figure out the strategies and tactics for the next part of my life, the life where I was a fully grown human being. I'm a fully grown woman. I have experiences. I've learned so much about myself, and I really needed to tap into what was I going to be for the next stage of my life. Stage 3, setting new goals. Newsflash, you are no longer in your teens, your 20s or 30s. You may even be in your 40s, 50s or 60s. And that means you need to set new goals for this life stage. Look at the big picture and think about where you want to be in the next 5 or 10 years. Then break down those goals into small, achievable steps. Remember, it's not about achieving everything overnight, but moving closer to what truly fulfills you. In 2018, I had to go through this process of setting new goals for my life. I'd achieved the things that I'd wanted to achieve in my business, in my personal life, but I wanted something different now. I wanted to be able to have the time to pursue other creative interests. I wanted to be able to read more again, like I had when I was a teenager. I wanted to lean into my spiritual practices. I wanted to be able to dig my hands in the earth and grow food. I wanted to be able to live in a place where I saw the sun for the majority of the year, as opposed to a place where I didn't. And most of all, I wanted to live in a space of outstanding natural beauty where nature was all around me. I was surrounded by green. I was surrounded by hills and valleys and waterfalls and rivers. And so I had to set some new goals and slowly start to make my way towards them. And here I am today, living that life. Stage 4, strengthening connections. Do not underestimate the power of who you have around you. It is vitally important that those people who surround you also align with the future vision of yourself. In 2018, I realized that some of the relationships that I had in my life, 20-year relationships, 30-year relationships, were no longer aligned with the vision of myself. And I realized that it was time to say goodbye, to thank my friends for being important parts of my life journey thus far, thank them for the experiences that we shared, the fun that we had, but that it was now time for us to go our separate ways. So I had to go through a process of blessing those relationships, blessing those people, my people of the 80s and the 90s and the noughties, and giving thanks for the adventures we'd had, the times we'd shared, the laughter, the experiences. Give thanks for the growth that happened at that stage, but release it so that I could release myself and be fully, wholly who I needed to be for the next stage of my life. This process can seem somewhat painful, but if we focus on the fact that there's going to be so much more that comes from the new decisions, there's going to be new adventures, new friendships along the way, then it makes it a whole lot easier. These steps don't require an absolute overhaul. It doesn't require a crash and burn. But by taking them mindfully, by taking them in consciousness, we're going to get so much more clarity, direction, and purpose in our lives. If you'd like some more assistance in tackling these 4 stages, in able to gain more clarity, click below. There is a free resource to support you. It's something that we need to do carefully. We need to tread lightly. We are dealing with people's hearts. But remember that these steps are things that you have to move through with mindfulness. It's going to take time, so it's going to require some patience. It's a huge life shift. It's a pivot. It's going off into a new direction. And so this is going to take time. It's almost like, you know, our lives are huge, huge ships on the ocean that are going in one direction. But when it needs to go into another direction, it needs to take time for us to chart the course and then start to move that mammoth structure off in another direction. So give yourself time, give yourself grace, be patient with yourself, and plan well, but leave space for the spontaneity, leave space for the synchronicity, leave space for the magical to also happen. And here's the really exciting part. Studies have found that people who embrace this life stage, embrace this change, end up finding a renewed sense of direction, purpose, values, goals, and a reason for living. It sounds exciting, doesn't it? That you're able to then change direction, have a new beginning, turn over a new leaf, write a new script, write a new story. The analogies go on and on and on. So why don't you consider taking another look at this life stage, taking another perspective and thinking about it in a new way? Imagine walking through life with a renewed sense of purpose. So if you're at this crossroads, take it as a sign. Take it as a sign that something amazing could be happening, where you could hit out for a home run, go off in a completely different direction and satisfy a heart's desire that's been there on the back burner all this time. Life isn't a straight line. It's full of twists and turns and forward steps and back steps and retracing. Embrace it. If you found this video useful, please subscribe, share, like, comment. I'd love to hear where you're at in this journey. What is it that you're considering? What new direction are you considering taking? What new thing are you considering learning or doing? I'd love to hear from you. Until the next time. One love.